Hello, everyone. I'm Michael George. Elaine Quijano will be here in a moment. But first, the second witness in Donald Trump's New York City criminal trial has been called to the stand. Rhona Graff spent decades as Donald Trump's executive assistant and is a senior executive at the Trump Organization. Trump is accused of falsifying records to cover up a payment made to adult film actor Stormy Daniels during the 2016 election. Prosecutors say this was a case of election interference. Trump denies the charges. CBS News national correspondent Errol Barnett is outside the courthouse following this story for us. Errol, are you there with us? First off, who is Rhona Graff?
Hey there, Michael. Yes, well, you know, the jury is hearing more from Donald Trump's inner circle and people he considered friends and were trusted. Rhona Graff was a longtime executive assistant to Donald Trump at Trump Tower on the 26th floor, and she was also senior vice president of the Trump Organization. So by now, what the jury has heard from David Pecker, former publisher of the National Enquirer, is that his relationship with Donald Trump, which lasted decades, was really based on supplying information to each other about celebrities, and for David Pecker being able to capitalize on that relationship. Now, as it relates to Donald Trump, Pecker was involved in catch and kill schemes as it relates to Karen McDougal, a Playboy model who alleged a months-long affair with Trump, and Stormy Daniels, the former pornographic actress, with which the charges in this case are central. Now, Pecker has already testified that he witnessed Rhona Graff come into Trump's office, hand him invoices and checks to which Trump would sign. Now remember, the key charges here are 34 felonies for falsifying documents that were line-itemed as legal expenses, but were in reality reimbursements for the so-called hush money that's related to all of these catch and kill schemes. So Rhona Graff, as she testifies in the courtroom behind me, is expected to fill in some of those blanks.
Well, Errol, you were talking about the Pecker testimony. How different will this be from what we heard during the question of Pecker?
Well, it's a great question. It remains to be seen. We have to wait and see how she responds to what the prosecution lays out, and then how she responds to cross-examination. If we get to that today, it's already about 3 p.m. and typically court wraps up at 4:30. So that answer may not come until next week. But Pecker said both at the beginning and end of his testimony that he still to this day considers Donald Trump a friend. He turned to him directly and said as much during his testimony. And with Rhona Graff, someone who was very close to Trump, and as I said at the top, part of his inner circle. If anything was on Donald Trump's schedule, if there was anything that anyone he met with, she would know. It's unclear what their relationship is now, but the testimony should be similar as far as what we heard from David Pecker. And for the jury, it's just backing up the prosecution's claims that Donald Trump lied to the American people while president as an effort to secure his presidency once he was in the Oval Office. But of course, it was all about his campaign where all of this emerged in the first place.
And meanwhile, Errol, former president is on Truth Social again, asking for the gag order to be lifted. Is there any indication that that could happen? And do we have any updates on the ruling over if he's already violated the gag order?
Well, Michael, we've got to remind viewers that for Donald Trump, whether he likes it or not, the courtroom is the campaign trail, and he is fundraising as we speak off of this message that he's being mistreated. All of the legal cases against him are backed up by Biden and his opposition, and that he's being treated unfairly. The reality, though, in this situation is that defendants, criminal defendants, are prohibited from intimidating witnesses before they take the stand, from intimidating jurors to manipulate their ultimate decision on their guilt, and of course of intimidating judge or any other staffer. And prosecutors allege that Trump has done that multiple times, including 4 times this week, when he said at a construction site yesterday that David Pecker was a nice guy, and he hoped he continues to say nice things. The prosecution says that's a violation of the gag order. You can't manipulate witnesses. Judge Merchant has decided to rule or hold a hearing on those gag order violations next week, Thursday. So no decision in the short term, but we do expect that to come next week.
Errol Barnett, thanks for keeping us informed.